Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the restoration of the old Ford 4100 tractor. So I think the smart thing to do is before we continue with any more of the restoration that we try to get the tractor running, see if it's even going to work and worth it. So let me show you the problem and show you how we're going to try to solve it. Alright, the problem is we had two wires going to the starter and a solenoid. This wire completely fried, so I guess somehow it shorted out, heated up, and just burned up. So what we have two new wiring harnesses. Got some instructions, but the problem is not the correct wiring harness. None of it matches up. One thing, we don't have a generator, we have an alternator, which that's not a problem. But a lot of the other stuff is just a generic wiring harness for like about 10 different tractors. So I think what we're going to do, we basically only need these two wires. So I'm going to cut this out. These two wires that go to starter and solenoid. Alright, so the issue is these two wires. This one completely burned up. These two, they went to the starter and one went to the solenoid. And I guess somehow this one shorted out, heated up, and completely burned all the insulation off of it. So how I was going to fix it, I have two new wiring harnesses with the instructions. But the problem is this wiring harness, it's a generic one for several different kind of tractors with a generator. This one doesn't have a generator, it has an alternator, which that's not a problem. I could have converted that wiring tips. So that since I only have two wires that are bad, these two, I'm probably just going to take this whole section out of the harness and then unwrap this one and then connect it, find out where it stops being burned up at, and just connect it into here. That way I'm not fixing something that's not broke. So that'll eliminate a lot of problems, because none of the new wiring harness matches up with this, which none of this is bad. It's all good. So there's really no reason to try and put a new harness in. So I think that's going to be my best bet. See how it goes, see if we can get the tractor cranked up. So let's get started. Alright, nothing's ever simple when it comes to this kind of stuff. They had this other section coming out, this little dog leg, and there's about 3 wires tied into it, and they're all burnt up too. One's a green wire. I traced it out, it looks like it goes to a temperature sensor, but I don't know why it would be tied in. They're all connected together, so I don't know. I'm not really understanding it yet. I'm gonna have to take more apart. try to get it pulled out where I can get to it better. The chance that this ever works out right is going to be 1,000,000 to 1. I can just get it all separated. Where I can just trace each wire. Looks like it may be more than 2 wires now. Well, it's definitely more than 2. Because that green wire is fried too. Which that wire, it won't keep it from running. You just won't get an accurate temperature reading. Alright, the plot thickens on this wiring harness. The one that's mainly burnt up is this one right here, white and brown, which if you follow it around, you look up in here, it's kind of burnt up here. But that wire is what comes over to the alternator, and it doesn't. It's seen better days. But if you follow it around, it looks horrible. It's burnt up in here. So really, I'll use this video for my own documentation so I know where stuff goes. So if I unplug the, I can't even think of the name of that now, the glow plug. Unplug that, and then down here is a temperature sensor. I think I could take the whole harness out, put it on the table, and try to make a new harness out of what's good, and splice my own together. So it just keeps changing as I unfold more and more stuff. So let's get back to work. Okay, the old harness is off. I got it stripped down pretty good, and it's way worse than I thought. This end goes to the alternator, and it's horrible. So looking at the instructions, it says you got to use the front and rear harness as a set. Don't try to like put this one into your old harness because they don't match up. So I think I'm gonna do the right thing here. Just pretend I didn't read that and try to plug this straight into my old harness and see if that's gonna work. Like this. I'll have to cut this off and put this end on it. Little things are different. I'm gonna go to the parts store, see if I can get a new connector for the alternator and wire that in. Looks like whoever went from a generator to an alternator, they spliced it. But some stuff's just different. So I just don't know how some of this is gonna work, but I'm gonna figure it out. So I'm gonna go to the auto parts store, get some parts, get some new electrical connectors, and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back from the auto parts store, and I went to Harbor Freight. Wanted to get some connections and stuff. That way I can splice wires together. I was out of that. I went to 2 auto parts stores for this. It's the connector on the alternator. It's a pigtail. And both auto parts stores, they couldn't look it up. They said you gotta have the, first they ask you what kind of car. I told them it's on a tractor, and then they said go to Tractor Supply, and I explained to them it's a car alternator. But they said without the car or without the part number, they can't look it up. So when I got in the truck, I went to Amazon, and in about 7 seconds I found it. I just typed in alternator, connector, pigtail, and it came up. So it's kind of sad that they can't help you no more than looking up a car, but it is what it is. So I think I'm pretty close. I'm starting to figure it all out. Just changing out some of the connectors, like to the glow plug. I'm gonna add that to it. I don't think I'm gonna hook up the alternator right now or any of the sensors. I'm gonna just hook it up to where it'll crank. and that way I'll trace out each one, make sure it's correct. Because I don't want the same thing to happen where the wire overheats and burns up. So I'm gonna just do it one at a time, real slow. So let's get back to it. Alright, like all projects that you think is only going to take maybe an hour or two, takes a whole day. I got the starter off now, got the old starter, and then I thought the solenoid may be bad, but if you take, let's see, let me get a screwdriver. So if you jump it from here to here, see it works. So whenever I was trying to crank it on the tractor, the solenoid would engage, but it wouldn't spin. So I was looking at the starter, and it wouldn't screwed in all the way back here, so the starter was kind of cockeyed. So it was hitting, but it wasn't enough to be able to turn the big flywheel. So I took it off. I wanted to try it out on the ground, so it works out. So I'm going to install it, put it back on, and see if we can crank it by jumping it with a screwdriver. So let's try that. Alright, I got the starter back on, and we're going to see if we can jump it with the screwdriver. Hope it's out of gear. If not, it's going to jump right off these jacks. Let's see. That's almost unbelievable. She cranked right up after I got the starter on right. So now we need to finish the wiring harness, so at least we know the engine runs. Oh, I forgot to turn the diesel on. We would have ran it out of diesel, then we'd really have trouble. We'd have to bleed every one of these. Alright, so let's finish wiring it. Okay, I keep changing plans. Every time I try something new, I realize that won't work and try something different. So I decided to go ahead and use the new front harness. I wired it up to the key, turn it, nothing happens. I can do it one-handed. So I got everything wired right. Got this on the alternator. I put the ground just on the one that should be the ground for now. This is I think that's the oil pressure sensor, which should go here. And I have the water temperature wired in. This is headlights, so I don't need it. This is all the instrument cluster, which you don't need that to crank it. And then all this is wired right. So I have all these extra wires. Since this tractor was converted from a generator to an alternator, these wires went to a regulator. So look at this. This is the regulator. It tells you how to wire it up, but we don't have that. So to get electricity to the switch, I'm gonna have to cut some of these and wire them in together. Probably these three, like that. That way to complete the circuit. This I could probably put to the ground, and that, have to see what they are. Make sure that goes to ground. Because remember we had this dog leg on here? That's looks like what they did. They took all these and wired them together. And that way it completed a circuit to go here. So I'm gonna make sure, figure out what wire is which, wire them together, and then see if we can crank it. Alright, it's the next day. The last clip I did of cranking the tractor up with the key, didn't have any audio. I screwed all that up. Like I said before, I can't really do this without Tyler. So I do the best I can when he's not here and in school. And hopefully we'll have some good weather this weekend and we can get the tractor all finished up and painted. But I went to 2 tractor supply stores and they're all out of the blue paint. So at least we'll get it sanded and primed. And then as soon as we get the blue paint, we'll finish it up. But in the meantime, we have work to do. One of the subscribers, been watching our videos for a long time. He owns, well, he don't own, he's a market manager at Summers Rubber Company. It's they make hydraulic hoses and all kind of stuff. So we went back and forth about 20-30 emails. He taught me a lot. I didn't know they had so much about thread sizes, the pitch of the thread, all kind of stuff. So I learned a lot. Super good guy. We tried to figure out some new ways to reroute stuff, and he sent us a package. So let's open it up and see what all we have. Alright, this stuff, he said since we couldn't reroute one of the hoses, that you put the hose in this, and this can lay straight on the exhaust manifold and take all the heat and it won't melt your hydraulic hose. So we have that. And he labeled every bag to help us out. Like optional end fittings. That way we have several options that we could do, we talked about. Looks like we have everything we need. Let's see which way we're going to do this and get it done. Alright, let's start with the high pressure hose. Even put our name on it. Swamp Boy's Garage. Yes. All good. You need this extra slack in it because this ram is going to be moving, so you need enough to turn. I don't think that's ever going to leak again. Alright, so the other one, now we have two low pressure hoses. This one, which these two fittings they're permanently in, because I wanted to get a 90 to get it away from this, and we couldn't do it because can't take these out. So this one's going to come around and come to here, but so we got a new fitting to go here. Alright, next we're going to do the larger of the hoses because it's in the back. I don't want to try to be reaching around the smaller one. Let's get this installed. The only way to really route this, something like this, and we'll put the heat shield covering over it. I think the old one went like this. I don't see a better way to do it. If you go too much, then it pinches it off. I think I'm gonna cut it now. I'm sure I'm gonna have to cut it a few times. Went ahead and had to just go ahead and take this off. It's bolted on one of the valve cover gaskets. So I'm gonna put this heat shield on. I already put the hose clamp, got it secured tight. Hose clamp on first. The last hose, we're just going to route it up on this side. Just like that. This is a handy dandy little cutter. It's one of those things that Bob Vila had out for a Christmas commercial probably 30 years ago. Comes in handy now. And this one, it doesn't need the the heat protection hose, but I might put it just that way if you're in the woods and running through briars and stickers, it doesn't cut it. Might give it a little protection since I have it. Alright, that's it. Huge upgrade. Everything is tight. Hope this old pump works. Alright, I'm gonna get some fluid, put in here. We'll fire the tractor up, turn the wheel, see if the power steering works. Just using a hydraulic fluid for this. I didn't think it was necessary to get power steering fluid, because this stuff goes here and then the back end of the tractor, because that's where the hydraulics are there. Alright, I'll probably have to add more once it circulates and fills the pump back up. Alright. Make sure we don't have any leaks so far. Let's fire it up. Let's see what happens. I'll put this back on. Maybe that'll make it a little bit quieter. Make sure my wires aren't in the fan belt. Oh, we don't have the battery hooked up. Forgot about that. I didn't want to leave the battery hooked up since I just wired it and then it catch on fire overnight. Alright, let's try it again. Had to adjust the battery cables and clean them up. Works good, no leaks. Check this fluid, see how much went down. Not too much. Alright, so the power steering hoses are all done. It all works perfect. And just want to thank Mr. Mel James again. Take a screenshot of this if you ever need hydraulic hoses or anything. Super good guy, helped me out so much. He's very patient with me, taught me so much, even sent me a little book so I can keep learning. All kind of different options. I didn't even know this stuff existed. So really good person to have helping me with this project. I appreciate it so much. One other issue, while the tractor was running, I went back here, tried the hydraulics, tried to lift it up, didn't work. I thought it might be out of fluid. Check this, bone dry. I added the rest of that gallon of hydraulic fluid and didn't even phase it. So I'm probably gonna need to get a 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic fluid because it goes in there and also it goes in the transmission. So we got another spot here. So we'll top all those off, because I'm sure they all drained down over the years. So that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow Tyler will be back with me and we're going to get this thing sanded down and primed. I'm going to go to Tractor Supply, see if the paint came in. If I had an air compressor, I would just buy the gallon of paint and spray it that way, but I don't have one yet. I keep looking on Facebook Marketplace for a good deal, but I haven't found one yet. So that's going to be it for right now, and we will see you in a little bit.
Alright guys, I'm back to help my dad finish off the tractor. We're going to try to get the tractor sanded and painted 100%. That way we can get the tractor out and the Denali in.
Yeah, so really all we have left to do is finish sanding on the tractor and then paint it. And I never could get any spray paint at not Harbor Freight, but where'd I go? Tractor Supply. They had every single color at I went to 4 different Tractor Supplies. And they had the Kubota orange, John Deere green, and every one was out of the blue Ford paint. So let me show you what I did. All right, so I've been needing an air compressor. So we bought an 80-gallon Ingersoll Rand. I think that's gonna be plenty good enough to paint a tractor. So I got it all set up. I wired it in last night. I had that from Christmas, so I finally installed that. And one little tidbit, they make 2 different types of these things. So they make one for auto work and one for said industrial. So I was thinking that I would get all the ones for auto, but they don't fit. You got to get the industrial ones. I don't know why. We got 2 different size connections. And also I bought, this is what I did for the blue paint. Got Ford blue in a can and a little cheap Harbor Freight sprayer. Should be good enough for the tractor. So let's get it sanded down and get this thing out of here. Alright, so we're going to start with the 2 fenders. I took the bolts out and tried to take the fenders off. That way we can do it all on a table, but they're welded in place, so I couldn't get them out. So we just got to sand them where they're at and do it that way. It's the best we can do. So plug your sander in and let's get it started. We're going to start out by painting the front bumper black. Tyler's already knocking that out. Got it prepped good enough. So we're going to do that. We got to paint this bar over the top black. And I don't have enough white paint for the fenders. I completely forgot about that. Probably got enough to do 1 fender. So I want to try to spray this part in the shed, put the tires on it, and bring it outside. I'm not going to paint it inside here. It's going to make a mess. So I'll paint it outside. a Harbor Freight spray gun, and I got a regulator, and the regulator is absolute garbage. It does not regulate. It's showing maxed out. I'm trying to get about 14 to 17 pounds of pressure to spray, and it's just not doing it. So I'm gonna try to do the best I can, see if it works, because I'm ready to get this over with. And this doesn't have any instructions on how to mix it for spraying. It says if you're gonna roll it, don't mix no more than 5% paint thinner. So I'm gonna just do that. I'm gonna go 5%. So I'm gonna go by ounces right now. I'm gonna go 10 ounces. Probably ought to go get a paper towel. 10 ounces. I'll add 1 ounce of this. Okay, I got the tires on, they all torqued down, the battery's hooked up. I hit a few more spots that we got down to bare metal with the primer. So what I think I'm gonna do, crank it up, drive it outside, let it sit in the sun for 30 minutes or so, and let it dry, and then I'll coat it with some paint. I ran out of the white paint. This fender here is looking good. It needs another coat. This one doesn't have any, just a little shots of primer. Still gotta coat this black. So let's see if I can get it cranked up and get it moved out. All right, I got the tractor out. Only had one issue. I had tightened the alternator up. I had it too tight, so this belt was smoking. So I loosened it up. Now it's hitting right here. So I'll have to remember to adjust that. And I almost forgot to turn the diesel on again. It leaks, so I need to cut it off. I gotta remember to turn it back on next time. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 30 minutes or so to dry. I'm gonna hit it with some blue. All right, we're gonna try it again.
Alright guys, we got the tractor 100% complete. We didn't get the last part of it on video because some of our cousins came over from out of town. But my dad got the stickers on and he got the whole, like just the whole rest of it painted. So do a quick walk around of the whole thing.
Yeah, it came out super nice. Super happy with it. Even for not being able to take the fenders and all that off. We did the best we could. But came out great. It's cranking up great, runs great. This one's a little bit arched, but doing it by myself. Somebody wanted to go play with their cousins. So, got it all on. Hydraulic hoses look great. Only last issue is we got a little bit of hydraulic fluid in the back. There's a little bit leaking. So there's probably some O-rings that are dry rotted. Have to change those out. Front bumper all sanded down. This came out super nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Front grill's awesome.
I like that. So, tractor's done. It was 3 episodes. Good news is come look in here. We got the Duramax. I think we're gonna call the build Swamp Max, Swamp Boys Garage, and it's a Duramax. So we put the two together, Swamp Max. Be kind of our name. Maybe we'll get some merch made up with some, like an alligator driving a lifted truck or something. So we're gonna start on this soon. Get it all stripped down, get the inside stripped, seat out, airbags ordered, get it all started soon. So that's it. We got some fan mail we want to open up right quick.
Alright guys, so here's our fan mail. We're so excited to open it. It is addressed to the younger brains behind the operation and is from Illinois. We already got it open because we could not wait to see what it was. And I'm going to read the letter. In one episode, your dad said you were the brains behind the operation, and you have proven that because the videos keep getting better and better. I hope that you can use the Amazon card as a starter fund or whatever you may need to keep improving your videos. Of course, the Canes card is because I saw that you like their food. Keep up the great work on the filming and editing and all of your stuff and learning in the garage. Very good letter, and let's take a look at the cards. We got the Canes card, our favorite fast food to go to.
Yeah, we always stop at Canes whenever we run in the Home Depot or the parts store. So that's our go-to food there.
And we got the Amazon, and maybe we can use that to upgrade our camera quality, like audio system.
Audio, yeah, we need better audio for sure.
But thank you so much for whoever sent this. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next time.